From the Beaty Biodiversity Museum. Today we're going to learn how to handle specimens from a Beaty box. But before we get started, make sure that you wash and dry your hands and move any objects from a table that you might put the specimens. So let's get started. Because these are real museum specimens, it's important to remember that you shouldn't have food or drink nearby and not to bring these specimens outside. They need to stay inside, clean, and safe. So you're going to open your box first, and there are specimen trays inside. So you can take out one tray at a time. In many of the boxes, you'll find some extra information, a lesson plan, as well as specimen cards that match the specimens in the box. Now make sure you have lots of empty space to put your trays. And lift the trays out with both hands at all times. Every specimen in the Beaty box has a matching flashcard to go along with it. To help match them, look for these blue specimen tags. They'll tell you the type of species that the box is. So this is a butter clam. Again, when touching the clam specimens, keep them in the container, touch them nice and gently, and look for your flashcard. So we have our butter clam, and on the back there's a bunch of information as well as some safety and handling tips. You can pass these out to your students along with the specimens. And you'll also find all of the same information within the manual. So the butter clam information is also available for you to use here while your students are using the flashcards. Anytime you handle a specimen, make sure you do so gently. All of these specimens are irreplaceable. They're real museum specimens, so we want to take really good care of them. The general rule is to touch with your pinky finger. That is our gentlest finger, so it's the easiest to do a very gentle job touching the specimen. You always want to go in the direction of the texture, in this case along the feathers. If you push them backwards, you can ruffle the feathers, which potentially damages them. So always nice and gentle. Anytime you move a specimen, you want to pick up the whole tray with two hands. If you are sharing specimens and you want to trade with somebody, make sure that you pick up the specimen with two hands and move it over. You can look at them gently from different angles, but just make sure that you don't tilt it too far forward. And when you have a big table like this, if you have multiple specimens, make sure that you're not leaning over them. That can potentially damage them too. So if you're doing an activity or drawing your specimen, be careful that you aren't setting your paper down on the specimen. Use the table beside, or use a clipboard so that you don't have to put it down on the table. If you're pointing out features to your neighbor, don't use your pen to point. You can make a mark on the specimen. Use your finger to point out different features that you see on the specimen. So for wings, you are able to take these out of the box. You can see there is a label here that tells you can pick it up gently. When you pick up a wing, make sure you pick it up from the thickest part here. You can turn it over gently, touch it very, very gently, and put it back into its container. You don't want to flap it around. That can potentially damage the specimen. So we'll make sure that it's nice and sitting between all of the foam pieces. For specimens with a cover, don't open them, leave them closed, and look at them from all different angles. The nice thing about these clear containers is you can see different sides of the specimen. Make sure that you don't shake them, and put them away gently when you're finished. For specimens embedded in foam like this fossil, you can touch it very gently, but don't take it out of the mount. You can look at it at different angles and put it away gently. Softer specimens, make sure you don't push them very hard. You can again touch them very, very gently, and make sure you don't take them out of the box. And specimens with a clear cover like this one, which is plastic, these are to protect the specimen. They're extra delicate, so with these specimens you want to be extra careful with them, but again you can look at them from different angles. Specimens like the squirrel are a big favorite. They're super fuzzy, they're really lovely to touch, and your classroom is going to want to grab them for sure. So make sure that they stay in the box. It can be very tempting to pull these one out, so leave them in their tray. And make sure that when students are exploring this specimen, they pet in the direction of the fur, and that they don't pick into the eye holes. It can be very tempting to pick at the small bits. but we want to encourage everybody to touch them gently so more and more students can see them every year. Even though you can touch things like these pine cones, they can be quite delicate. So again, just use your best judgment and touch things gently so that we can protect the specimens for future use. Some Beaty boxes have loose feathers like these, and you can pick them up gently. Just be sure that you pick them up from the strongest part of the feather, and again, touch them in the direction of the texture. Make sure when you put them back in the box, all of the edges are inside so that we can protect them. There are specimens that may be sharp, like this eagle's foot. So when you're touching the talons, just be extra careful that you don't touch them too hard. Some specimens are stored in alcohol, like this fish. When you look at them, be careful that you don't shake it around. You can look at it from different angles very gently, and don't take it out of the box. This helps protect it. If you notice that there's any moisture around the jar, make sure you tell your teacher and let the Beaty Museum know, because we can do a quick repair as needed. Some specimens have special instructions, like these herbarium sheets. It tells you to remove the bundle of plants before removing the tray, and you can unsnap the brackets here to get to the specimens. So when you move the herbarium specimens, lay them down on top of each other, rather than flipping them like pages in a book. This helps prevent pieces of the plants from falling off. And you can touch them gently through the surface of the plastic, but remember not to take the plastic off. In the bottom corner, you'll have all of the specimen information as well. And before you put them in the box, make sure you put them back together. This will make sure they don't slide around when they're in transport. For some trays, usually the bottom tray, there is a label that says, "Do not remove this tray from the box." The reason is that the specimens in the bottom are often the heaviest specimens, and if you take the whole tray out, it's a little bit too heavy to lift out of there safely. So for this bottom tray, you'll take out the specimens one at a time, being mindful that specimens like this barnacle-covered rock might be a little bit heavier than the others. When it's time to put all of your specimens away, you'll see the pictures on the trays of the box. Match up your specimens and match them in the same orientation as the picture. Sometimes the boxes are different shapes, so this will help them fit in nice and easily. And then the trays that sit on top of the bottom tray, you can fill the specimens into the tray first, and then move the whole tray into the box all together. This is the whale bones box, which is a little different than the other boxes. This one is filled with casts, which are replicas of flipper bone specimens. In this box, you have the same thing where you have some supplemental materials, your teacher guide. You also have a large format x-ray of the whale's flipper. This we encourage you to take out of the box and set up on the floor to encourage kids to sit around it and be a little bit more gentle with this piece. Just like the other boxes, the trays come out one at a time. Just be careful because they can be a little bit heavier. And again, make sure that you have lots of space available to you. You'll notice that every bone has a place, and we encourage you to make sure you put them back exactly where you find them. So each bone has a nice cutout. The bones should fit firmly, but not super snugly that you have to really force them out. And make sure that when students are handling them, even though they're not real bones, to treat them like museum specimens. So picking them up with both hands, touching them gently, and when you're using the puzzle, don't drop the bones onto the puzzle. Make sure you're placing them nicely. Thank you so much for watching this video and learning how to safely handle specimens from your Beaty box. We at the museum really appreciate your diligence, care, and attention when handling specimens, and we know the classrooms that are using the boxes after you will appreciate it too. When you're bringing the boxes back to the museum, make sure you do so carefully. If it's raining like it usually is in Vancouver, make sure you cover your box so that the specimens don't get wet. When moving them to and from different classrooms, bring them gently, use 2 hands, and make sure you tell any teachers you're sharing the box with how to handle specimens properly. If you have any questions at all, you can give us a call or email, and we'll we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thanks so much for renting a Beaty box, and happy sciencing!